Zecho Yoshua Bodod, Rabosi Om Hoyso Kalmono, Rabosi Bagoim Sarosi Bamedinos Hoyso Lamas. The word Hoyso Lamas, the word Lamas, the Gemara says in Shabbos, is in the Greek language means a dog, a kelev. That's what the Gemara says. This is an interesting explanation from the Pri-Oretz, Mendele from Vitebsk. He says, what does it mean? Sarosi b'Medinot hoysel amas. That it was like a dog. What does that mean? So he quotes the Zohar Kodesh in Tikkun Zohar that on Shoshana Yom Kippur there are people that they don't think about the Tsar Hashchina. They don't daven for the pain of the Rebbeinu Shalom for Geula to come. All they're busy with is how they could have more money, how they could have more parnasa, better house. The Zohar Kodesh says that there's people that Rosh Hashanah, they say hav, they scream like a kelev, like a dog. They ask for their needs. And the Remendel Vitebsk explains that this is what the pasuk means. The pasuk says that the Yidden, by this man from the Churban, they weren't busy trying to daven for Ruchnius, trying to daven for the Rebbeinu Shalom. They were davening for their personal needs. They were using the Beis Hamikdash just as a place that you could ask for, like an ATM machine. You bring a korban, could I have more? When that happens, that could cause a churban. That's a reason that the Rebbeinu Shalom says you don't understand why there is a Beis Hamikdash. You don't understand why the Rebbeinu Shalom created a musik of tefillah just for your personal needs. And that is something that we have to be misaken. That's something that if a person learns, internalizes this concept, that brings the person to be able to elevate themselves, elevate their koyach tefillah. When a person is so into their personal tzrochim, it shows about their essence. It's not only about what they were asking for, it shows that that's what they care about. That's what they're focused on. And if you see a person is focused on something that's shallow in life, 24 hours they're thinking about it, talking about it, trying to do progress, and it's something that's so shallow, that means that that person is in Golas. He's not himself. A person that learns how to focus on what they're supposed to be focused, such a type of a person is out of Golas. He davens about steiging, he davens about being able to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom better. That's a geuladige type of person. The Levush in Shulchan Aruch by Hilchas Tefillah explains that when a person davens Shemona Esrei, there's the first three brachas which we praise. There's the middle brachas where a person is asking their bakoshas on the Rebbeinu Shalom for refuah, for parnasa, and then there's moedim where a person thanks the Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Levush says, by the middle brachas, when a person is asking bakoshas, they're supposed to be the most humbled, with the biggest hachnoah, because when you're asking for something, then you have to show that you don't feel that you are really worthy of getting it. You have to understand your place. You're an Eved, you're asking from the Melech, can I please have? A person usually has too many Averis B'chal to open their mouth, but the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Ki ata shmei tfilas kol peh. So they come, but you have to come with achnoah. If a person is reaching out to the Rebbeinu Shalom and asking and begging the Rebbeinu Shalom, and they're into their gashmias, so it's very sensitive. Imagine if you tried asking someone for a gewaldige favor. You need someone, if he could lend you some money, and you're planning to pay him back a few months later, and you're calling the guy and calling till that person picks up the phone. And you said your whole case, your whole story, please, I need it, this and that, so important. You realize on the other side of the phone that person was a bit cold and wasn't so warm. Okay, you put down the phone, and then somebody else tells you, do you know that that person that you just reached out to, he was on the way, he was going through the levaya of their own child, Le'aleinu? The person feels so bad, and so I wasn't sensitive enough. I didn't understand when I'm asking for my needs. That person was in a much bigger tzora, in a much bigger tzara, and I made him crazy with such mundane the money and this. When a person is talking to the Rebbeinu Shalom, tefillah, they must realize there's a problem. There's something in the room. There's a problem here. The Shechina is bitzar. You're talking to the Shechina. You have to mention it. You have to talk about it. You have to feel for it. When a person realizes that, and they daven like that, that makes more sense. Shemona Esrei is set up that way. We ask for Tkab Shefa Godel Acheru Seinu. B'sechazena Eineinu B'shuv Chol Etzion B'rachmem. So many brochas. V'shalayim Ircha B'rachmem Toshuv. If a person talks about it, and he feels the tzar from the Shechina, then a person could come and ask their own needs, because that's already with achno. That's putting it on the table. Rebbeinu Shalom, you're in tzar, and the Shechina is b'tzar, but I feel with you. I also want the Beis Hamikdash to be built. I wish. And Torich Kedei, the person is saying, but until then, I need parnosa, I need this, I need that. When a person sees the whole picture, when you're sensitive enough to that, that's when a person is could daven, and that's when it makes sense to daven. And that's what the Zohar HaKadosh explains. Rosh Hashanah, when a person davens, most of the davening is about the tzar from the Shechina. Malchiyos, Zichroinos, Shofars, the Psukim talk about the Geula, Tkab Shefa Godel Acheru Seinu, Moloichal Koloidom Kula V'chidecho. We ask for the Korah, and the Bracha speaks about the Rebbeinu should remember us and take us out of Golus. If you daven like that, then a person could add Bakoshes, Rosh Hashanah. The Rebbeinu should help. It should be a good year. We should also be Matzliach. Everybody should be healthy. But if a person would change the whole tefillah from Rosh Hashanah and be only busy with parnosa and with this and that, it wouldn't make sense. You can't daven like that. It's even between two people, b'nei basav adam, it would be hurting. It would be so you're not feeling the other person's feelings. Klapper the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, please understand what to daven for. Understand the pain of Shechina Begolas. Don't use tefillah just to daven for your own tzrochim. Elevate yourself. Be a little bit above that. Now, in order for a person to be able to understand this concept, a person has to realize what's missing, which a person really has to think, and be zich misboinen, what a person is supposed to look like, what a yid is supposed to be, how elevated a person could live, with Torah, with Tefillah, with Shabbos, whatever it is. And then they're supposed to be saying that the matzav is not like that. That means that we need a Beis Hamikdash. It's not the way Yiddishkeit is supposed to look. Reb Gershon Edelstein Zechon Levrocha once mentioned by Yeshir that we see an interesting difference between Avelus, when people mourn on a close relative that passed away, and when we have Avelus on the Beis Hamikdash. When a person is being misabel on a relative, Rahman al-Islan, so the first day is like the deepest tsar. Even in Alocha, it's oinin. Afterwards, there's 3 days, it's like for the family, this bechi. The Gemara says the first 3 days it's like really tough. Then there's the shiva, then the shloishim, then there's a year. After a year, a person forgets. There's a musag of a yortzeit. It gets less and less. When it's the avelus on the churban, we see it builds up slowly. That means first there's the 3 weeks, then it gets closer. There's the 9 days. There's a shavua shacholboy. There's erev Tisha Bav, and then Tisha Bav itself. There's nothing. You can't even eat. Why does it go the opposite direction? So the Gershon said over that a simple idea, when a person is sitting by Avelus for a close relative, there's nothing to explain, and there's no his boriness that's needed to be bitzar, because they're already in such pain. It's the opposite. slowly, they're mechazik themselves, and they go on, and they amuna and bitochen, whatever, and they get out of it. But when it happened, it's the deepest pain. When we're being zech misabel on the churban, so we start off that we're not in pain, because we need its bonus to chap. So slowly we get the person in by thinking about it, by realizing, learn a little bit about the Beis HaMikdash, learn about how a Yid is supposed to live, what the Shechina had when there was a Beis HaMikdash, and so on. And then, slowly, it gets to him. 9 days, Shavua Shechol Bo, Erev Tisha Bav. You work the opposite, because you could only be Zech Mis'al when a person is Zech Misboinen. Now, it's important to understand that Avelis, mourning, people don't usually have the exact definition. What does it mean? What does it mean, Avelis, mourning? What does it mean? Now, when a person is depressed because they lost a relative, they're depressed, they're sad, they're devastated, disappointed that they lost something that they had in life. When a person is being Zech Misabel, when the Torah says, please do that, it's not that the Rebbe Hashem is saying, I want you to be devastated and disappointed, and it's supposed to bring to something. You're supposed to be connected to the loss. Avelis means realizing, internalizing the loss, understanding the loss, but not to be depressed about it. Just to know, the push, what I need to do about it. The yesod of Avelis is that a person he should live in the reality, he should chap what's going on. When a person doesn't live with the reality, they end up hurting people. When a person doesn't chap that someone around here it doesn't have children, and you start speaking and whatever, no, you're not living with that reality, you're going to be hurting. You have to be sensitive, you have to understand. Avelis is understanding the problem better. There's a famous saying, Shaidas Chochem Chatzi Tshuva. If you understand the problem, you're 50% closer to the answer, to the solution, because you understand what to fix. Avelis is understanding what we're missing better. You understand what you're missing better, then you could work on solutions. Reb Tzadok in Pri Tzadik, and the same idea, the same concept is in Tiferet Shloime from the Radomska on Shmini Atzeres. They explain that the Gemara says, Kol mis'abel al Yerushalayim, zoiche v'roye b'simchosa. It should have said in the future. That means Yiske v'yire b'simchosa. That would be the right diktuk in Lashon Kodesh. Zoiche v'roye is present, not the future. He sees. So they explain that when a person is mis'abel in Yerushalayim, he could live now a Beis HaMikdash type of life. Right now, he could take himself out of Golus in the current situation and live a Yeshuadik type of life. That's what it means. Now let's understand that. Avelis, like going downward, sitting on the floor, crying. How does that make a person live elevated? Because if you understand, the answer is, if you understand that Avelis is not the toitzoa, the result of being depressed about the matziv. It hurts, but not depressed. It hurts to understand it well. But the second the person understands what they're missing, they're closer to understand what they need to fix. If a person is living in denial, they say, I don't understand what's the problem, it's good. Then of course they can't bring themselves to live a different type of life, because they didn't get it. But when a person chaps the problem, then he could change himself. He could pull out of his pnimius a different type of life. So misabel means that a person should think about the potential of a yid, the potential of Torah Tefillah, what it could do to a person, real chesed, what it could do to a person. What happens to a person which watches their mouth and eyes and does chesed to others with Mesiras Nefesh and davens and learns? What happens? And you have the proper Emunah B'tochen, the formula from everything together, the simcha and the achanoah. It brings a person to nevuah. It brings a person to Ruach HaKodesh. It brings a person to be a yid, a real yid. They feel their neshama. They feel their neshama. If a person realizes that it has to be like that, and more than that, they know that there are people that are trying to live like that are closer to that type of life, it pushes the person. I don't want to live a shallow life. I can't go back to that matziv. And that is the Avelos is supposed to bring to a person to that understanding, a very deep, real tshuka, to want to live a ruchniisdige life, which the mind is occupied with machshavas of wanting to grow, occupied and wanting to fix and wanting to go step by step, another check, another thing that's done better, another mitzvah, another detail in their life that they're really focused how to do it right, the mahalach that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. Avelos helps the person understand the problem. And that's why we need to sit, we need to mourn, we need to see the Yerushalayim, and then you right away get up. Right away, Tisha Bav, in the afternoon, we get up, we start putting tefillin slowly, because we are ready to work. We are ready to understand, to fix. And that's how a person brings Geula. And this really teaches us. A person is supposed to understand that the tsar from the Shekhinah and the problem the person is living in, his situation, it's the same exact matziv. His neshama is part of the Shekhinah, and his neshama is lost. The neshama not finding the way out. David HaMelech says, Ta'isi kiseh oived. I've been lost, not finding the way, like a seh, sheep that doesn't have who should show him the way out of the woods. David HaMelech says, I'm begging you, Rebbeinu Shalom, I should find a way how to go out of this golus. When a person realizes that their neshama is in golus and they need to take it out of golus, and they should reach out to Rebbeinu Shalom and daven for that, slowly they stop davening so strong and so focused on their gashmias, and they start davening more and more and more about the ruchnias. And that's a mahalach how a person take themselves out of golus. Kipshutai. They're not like the Kelev, which says hav. They're not like the people by the Churban Abayis, which the people by the Churban were busy with their own tzrochim. A person is slowly supposed to start thinking and being zechmus nefesh. Everything he wants the Shekhinah, he wants ruchnias, and that's how a person takes out their own neshama from golus. The Koyzer Klover, when the big Gedolim in Poland pre-war was killed in the war, Tzvi Frumer, he says that it says in Zohar HaKodesh that Esav, when Yitzchak Avinu, his father, gave the brachos to Yaakov, Esav came and he realized what happened. He cried and he shed tears. It says there was demois, noshru, from it was tears that came out of the eyes of Esav. And it says in Zohar HaKodesh that till now we're in Golos because of those demois, that cry of Esav. And when Yidden blow shofar Rosh Hashanah, that's how they come out of Golos, because that is instead, that means that takes away the koyach of the demois from Esav. So he explains, Yidden should be in Golos for so long because of Esav. Esav had a disappointment. He wanted to have the brochas from his father, and it didn't happen. Why would that be the reason for Yidden to be in Golos? And how does the shofar help for that? So he explains, Esav understood, growing up by Yitzchak and Yaakov, he understood that Ruchnius brings a person to eternity, to Olam Haba, to closest to the Rebbeinu Shalom, everything. He had a problem that he had a goof and he liked to do other things, but he knew the koyach, the power of Ruchnius. When Yitzchak Avinu gives brachas, it's self-understood that Yitzchak Avinu is giving over a shefa from Ruchnius. Esav wanted it. Why not? Now, when Esav came back and he saw the Yaakov Avinu got the brachas, it means that he was the door for Ruchnius was closed. It was taken away from him. It means he's not going to get Olam Haba. It was given away to Yaakov. You could have Olam Haza. The source, the reason, the deep pain that Esav had, that's why he cried, was because he was mishtoikik to Ruchnius. He wanted it so badly. He was Mitzad HaKlipa, he was doing Averis, but he knew that is Ruchnius and he wanted it so badly. When a person has a true desire, a deep desire to Ruchnius, they connect to Ruchnius like that. They have a grip on Ruchnius. Because the Ratzon of a person, the desire of a person, is part of their Chaim, it's part of their, it gives them Chiyas. So what happened is that we need to get to the Geula Shlema and Mashiach and everything. Esav's connection to Ruchnius is now letting us be full balabatim. Only when Esav's schus is going to finish, that's when we could go and take over. And the Ummah Sa'ilam are now taking from the Ruchnius, and we are in Golas. It's all because Esav was zeichet to Ruchnius. He was zeichet to Hatzlocha, he was zeichet to Maluch, he was zeichet to many Yesoidis of Shefa because of his little shaykhis to the brachas of Yitzchak, because of the desire that he had. Zog the Kozik Love, the Zohar HaKadosh explains, when Yidden blow shofar, they bring out their desire for tshuva. Their tshuka to Ruchnius, the tsar that they're far, that's what he says. The pain that they're far from the Rebbeinu Shalom. When they bring out their pain that they're far from the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's how they take back the Kedusha. That's how we go out of Golas. If the Mendel Vitebska says that the program of the Churban is Hoysel Lamas, the problem is where are the desires of the person. When a person is davening, for what are you davening for? What do you focus? When a person hears that it's a big day today, so I could daven, so it's a skula for something, that shows that the person doesn't understand the problem. He doesn't understand that he's a much bigger problem that is a Churban Abayis. When a person starts slowly but surely to daven for Ruchnius, daven, and a person is supposed to daven with the whole heart, help me go to the next step. I can't without you. It's not going to work. They bang down the doors of the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Shara Shamayim, that they should have siyata the Shemaya with being a Yerei Shamayim. They should have siyata the Shemaya with Shmir Seinaim. They should have siyata the Shemaya to find the Mahalach of Torah which talks to their neshama. They should find a Rebbe, a Rav, which talks to their neshama. They should help them. They should pick them up. When a person starts davening like that, slowly, they take themselves out of Golas. Because that's a Beis HaMikdash Yid. And it doesn't mean that a person is perfect. When there was a Beis HaMikdash, people weren't perfect. People had issues. They had to bring a korban. That oilo, achatos, osham, they did Averis. But when Yidden were, it was 800 years plus, in the first Beis HaMikdash, second Beis HaMikdash, all those hundreds of years, of course people weren't perfect. But a person was able to be open with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom was, I had an issue, I did something, I came here, I'm honest. I'm talking to you about it. And they thanked, it was revolving around a Ruchnius life. Revolving around, I want to steig, I want to meet my potential. You could hear sometimes people talk, meet your potential, or these Megushim Diga advertisements, where you have people that I don't want to go into details, but it's so sad. It's so sad. That's the potential. The potential of a Yid is levels and levels and levels. So many levels higher than that. And a person really feels that they hit rock bottom. I cannot continue like this. I must. Daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom should take me out. He's a Mis'abel Yerushalayim. If you're Mis'abel Yerushalayim, you're going to be Zecher V'Rei B'Simchasa. You're going to be able be'emes to steig, to live a Chaim of Das. Das means the mind is in place. A person's Shemoneh Esrei is going to fall in place. They're going to really wait to daven. They're going to wait to be able to talk to the Boyer Kol Olam, that he should put seichel into their minds, understanding, deep understanding, and tshuva, and slicha v'kapora, because they understand, in order to continue, I need to take care of old baggage. Slach lanu avinu kichatonu, please. When a person gets focused around their ruchnias, and they're focused around their ruchnias by begging to Rebbeinu Shalom, by putting their tefillah, the ikke tefillah for ruchnias, because they chap that is the real issue, the core of the pain. And it's not only the core of the person's Torahs, we have to look at Klal Yisrael as a whole. There's so many tzoras, there's so much pain. And if we chap that the way to be misaken is to daven for Klal Yisrael's ruchnius, that people should elevate themselves, that people should be able to do tshuva. All brachas Shemona Esrei is Lashon Rabbim. Hashivenu Avinu L'Torasecha. Help Yidden, help Yidden. When we daven in a Havara before Shemona Esrei, before Krishma, we daven v'sein b'libeinu bin Allah and haskil. If a person would focus by davening, really prepare themselves for davening, and remember before they daven, and think about it throughout the day, that they had times in their day which they'd really daven for the ruchnias of themselves, for the steiging of themselves and their surroundings and Klal Yisrael. They're doing something to take themselves out of Golus. A person has to be, of course, willing to work hard, willing to fulfill those tefillahs that he himself is davening, but the shoyrish is such a type of a tefillah. A person that gets used to saying Tilim, where by Tilim you could be begging for ruchnias, explaining the Rebbeinu Shalom in so many different ways, how David HaMelech, the rich vocabulary of David HaMelech, Tehillim, where you could see, understand what you're saying. Daven, Derech Sheker Hosa Mimeni V'Seros Chochaneni. Take away the Derech Sheker from me. I'm not interested in anything. I'm interested in you. I'm interested in you, Rebbeinu Shalom. All the garbage on the side, all the sheker that surrounds, I want you. I want the emes. I want the Rebbeinu Shalom. A person that continuously davens again and again and again, and is consistent to daven about that, slowly it changes the essence of the person. That's really what they want. That's really what they're davening for. That really brings a gula for a person. And that's a avoida that's supposed to be taken away from Tisha Bav. I could dance after Tisha Bav. People could eat fleishiks after Tisha Bav. But I didn't drop my understanding that I had. The Yetzer Hara, one of the best ways the Yetzer Hara gets a person is by making a person be masir das. That means just to forget about it. Okay, now I cried, now I thought it was a machshava for 2 minutes, next. People forget about Kabbalahs that they made, people forget about understandings that they had. They just went on with life. The understanding that a person gets on Tisha B'Av, that goes along with the person afterwards. The problem that I have is a ruchnistic problem. I have that problem, the Shekhinah has that problem. All the rest is next. It's a lot of madregas, but number one is that. What do I want to daven for the most is for Hatzlocha and Ruchnias. And more understanding of Torah, understanding of Tefillah, understanding what to do, what's the right thing in so many different situations which a person is in. And that's what a person is focused on. When a person takes that, his Tisha B'Av brings him to Rosh Hashanah. His Tisha B'Av brings him to an Elul, because he didn't forget. He's very, very focused. My Kabbalah is to daven for Ruchnias better, and you could always daven even better for Ruchnias, because anything that has to do with Ruchnias doesn't have any limits. When a person does that, the Rebbeinu Shalom has a no. You're taking out the Shekhinah from Golas, because you're taking out the Neshama from Golas, because you're letting your Neshama talk. When a person is not davening, and his guf wants this, his guf wants that, the Neshama is like, let me talk. Let me say what I'm paying. Why are you saying your side of the story? Let me say what I feel like. When the Neshama screams Psukim of Tehillim from such pain, when the Neshama really, really davens so badly to be able to be Matzliach, help me, the Rebbeinu helps. That's the Zohar of Rebbe Chassa. Yispal, Yachzer v'Yispal, daven again and again and again. When a person davens again, he shows he believes in it. He shows that this is what I want. Then the person gets oizgeles. When a person has his own gula, then he makes a little bit samidish around him. Another person, he makes a little bit samidish around them. When you daven for others, that they should be matzliach and ruchnias, you're helping building Beis Hamikdash. And when the single person, when the prat builds their own Beis Hamikdash, that builds the big Beis Hamikdash. Tell the Rebbeinu Shalom helfen that we should have a gula shlema b'mehera b'yameinu. Amen.
A whole world of content awaits you on Kol HaLashon. United Kingdom 0208 191 7000. United States 646 663 7920. Israel 03 617 1095.